Hey guys, peace, love. And as I always start out saying, you are a spiritual being living in a human body, having a human experience. But you're way more than what's in this body. You are above and beyond what's in this body. You are a spiritual being that is inside and outside of your body at the same time. So, what exactly does that mean? That means there's more than what you see. So, what's going on in the world in 2025? The world's a lot different than it was, but also the same, if that makes sense. How is it different? We're seeing, hearing, sensing, understanding things more than we did even 20 years ago. Even though 20 years ago, even though 50, 100 years ago, we talked about ghosts, we understand now that ghosts are spiritual beings that have either not moved on or remain in our realm for some reason, protecting us, maybe watching over us, or choosing to stay. What I understand is that it's that spiritual part of us that leaves, and maybe we make the decision to hang around the humans that are here to help. I'm not really sure. Nobody knows the answer 100%, but we all have different beliefs and opinions. But I do know that we're more than just this body. So what else is different than 20 years ago? Well, there's so much media now, and obviously not just television, but with the onslaught of the internet and computers, and then phones that is a computer in your hand 24/7. There's so much information available now, and a lot of it's wonderful. A lot of the information that people can access is wonderful, and it's helping them, but a lot of it's crap, because there's information that's either negative or depressing or just not true. That people are spitting out all kinds of stuff that's not true. So that has changed the way we see things and hear things and the way we consume our news, because a lot of people are getting news information, and it's not really from the news. It's from somebody, sitting at home like myself on YouTube, or somebody that maybe is connected to somebody else that has a meaning behind what they're doing, or has a reason for what they're doing. So they're not really telling you the news to give you the true, correct information, but they're trying to get you to believe a certain opinion or a certain belief, or or certain whatever it may be. They're trying to get you to believe there's a reason why they're putting that information out there. So there's a lot of, like, on Facebook, if you scroll through Facebook, there's all this stuff that appears to be news-like, but it's information you really need to double and triple check. That's what I always do. I always double and triple check whatever's coming up, because I want to make sure that the information's correct for myself and for anybody else I plan to tell it to. I don't want to tell you something that I don't know for sure is correct information. So we're dealing with that. We're in a day and time where we just don't know if what's coming at us is true. And now with AI coming up, okay, people can now make videos of people that have died or people that are living, and make it appear as if those people are actually in that video. Now, it isn't as good as it's probably going to get once people start to learn how to use it, but it's pretty decent. I've seen some videos of people that have passed on. You're like, oh wow, that kind of looks like them. You can see where it's not perfect, but you could be fooled if you weren't paying attention. So to me, that's interesting, and it's also scary, because now you're dealing with people who are going to take AI and that false. Well, we already see what the false information has done. It's caused people to actually show up at places where they think something's taking place that isn't, and they show up to hurt somebody or to, render their own form of law on somebody, and they realize, oh, this wasn't a true story. I didn't do my due diligence and really dig into it. The gentleman, for example, there was a pizza place in D.C. that was supposed to be running some kind of child trafficking sex ring out of it, and a gentleman that watched this and consumed this online, and to his credit, he was concerned. So he wanted to do something about these children being trafficked, that he believed were being trafficked, because he had his own children. And I believe he drove there with the intent of shooting and killing traffickers or abusers, only to find out that wasn't the case when he got there. And you can access that information if you look at that up online. But he believed from what he saw online that was true. And that's just a small one example of probably thousands when people get online and aren't sure what they're reading is real information. Or they believe it to be correct information without getting another source to back it up because they don't believe the other source or whatever the case might be. But what really concerns me, and you guys already know that, when it comes to sexual abuse of children and women, and men too, but it doesn't happen quite as often to adult men, but I'm sure it does on some level. Sexual abuse is a horrible thing, and I get triggered when I see children being abused in that way because it damages a child. And not that a child can't get better and come out of that with help. Absolutely they can. But when they don't get that help, that person that's sought out to sexually abuse, and they've sought out to do it, sexual abusers, aka pedophiles, set out to find a child to sexually abuse. And I know we use nice words like grooming, and it's rape. You're raping a child, and you're preparing them for that. And you can tell yourself all kinds of crap in your head that it's okay, and I'm not hurting them, and I'm making them feel good. You are not put on this earth to teach a child how to have sex. Okay, so I don't know what story you're telling yourself, but you need to get yourself some help. And I think part of the reason why the world is so different now, and we could go into so many things, and I read and research all the paranormal and all the things that are going on with missing people and have been going on, and aliens, and listen, if you're not watching anything but one piece of what you think is news, you really need to pay attention to all kinds of things around you and make sure you're triple checking that information. But I promise you that what we call spaceships or aliens have been around for thousands of years. They're not just showing up now. We're seeing them more now for some reason. And I know some people have said that they're evil and they're calling them demons. I think if that were the case, we would be wiped out, or something would have been done already to the human race. The fact is, the human race is not just human. We're spiritual beings, and we have free will, and that's a reason why we're still here, because we're strong beings that we can work through whatever is going on. But the problem with us human beings is we've, I think, hit an impasse. Well, here we are in year 2025, and we're still allowing our children to be raped like they were 300 years ago, 1,000 years ago. So this stems from somewhere, comes from somewhere. And I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing things like aliens and spaceships. I think they're trying to let us know it's time as humans, because we have free will, to make better choices, to love one another, and if we can, protect one another. Do something to protect one another, especially those among us who are a lot more vulnerable. Children, disabled people, and women, in a lot of cases, were more vulnerable than men in certain situations. My point being that it's time now for us to wake up, and not just in America, but all over the world. We have to stop being secretive and allowing ourselves to hide and cover up for people that have molested and raped our children for years and years and years, be it in this country or other countries. Yes, there are rings of people that do this and keep it undercover, and the only way they can do that is if other people keep their mouth shut, and it happens for various reasons: embarrassment, shame, all kinds of reasons. And that would be from the people that are actually getting abused, those children. We understand that it's different for a child to say something because they're under the pressure of an adult telling them how things are going to go and what they're going to do to them. You better not open your mouth, and they're in fear for their life at times. Other adults, though, me or you, we're adults, okay? Other adults who are aware and turn away, you are just as much enabling that pedophile as anybody else is, because if you know that information and you say nothing, and this is not unusual, because if you look at any major pedophile story, and I'll refer to one, Sandusky, the football coach, people knew, including the local police department, that this guy was something was wrong with him. And they may not have thought right away he was a pedophile, but they knew he was off his rocker and that he liked kids and was a little too unusually close to them. And then as time went on, they started to understand when young boys would say, he gets in the shower with me. They knew. They understood. But nobody, for whatever reason, had the guts to protect those boys. Now, I'm sure they all had various reasons. Didn't want to lose their job or whatever, and there's a lot of money in college football. And here this man was. There's so much money in college football that when this man was first brought forth with these charges, nobody believed it. No, he didn't do that. What? And then when more young men came out and said, yeah, that happened to me too, then, of course, you have your naysayers. Well, they all wanted money. Not everybody wants money. And not everybody's willing to put their whole life on display and tell you a very intimate story about being raped because they want some money. So you can keep telling yourself that story, but most stories that come out are true. Do people lie? Of course people lie, but eventually you're going to get caught in that lie because your story is not going to make sense, or the person you're claiming did it. You're not going to be able to connect the dots to that person. So there's a way to figure out if a story is true or not. And people don't get convicted usually in those type of situations unless they've really done a thorough background. And you're not going to get all these people to agree that this happened to them just because they want to get that one person. Bill Cosby, for example. So all these women, okay, well over 20 women, I don't remember what the number was, but I know that was the least. All these women are saying this man drugged me, and I can give you the time and the date and around when it happened and people that were around or what city. Still, they weren't believed. Mind-blowing to me, because he said, well, no, some of this was consensual. These were consensual situations. What? The woman's telling you they weren't consensual. She was drugged. And you admitted that you had access to some type of tranquilizer, and a doctor admitted to it. So, I mean, when you got people telling you that, and then other people that are the naysayers, it makes me wonder about the naysayers and what they're up to when they've got the facts in front of them, but they're saying, no, it's still not true. Okay, I don't understand that. But what I do know is that spiritually, you're going to leave this body when you die, because we all do. And you will feel every bit of pain that you call somebody else. Now, I'm not talking about when you were rude to somebody, and even though it doesn't take much to be nice. Yes, you will understand when you were rude, or you will feel the pain if you were, just plain nasty to somebody. But I'm talking about people that have really, really hurt somebody and caused major trauma. You're going to feel that. And I promise you, it's not going to feel good. So if you're one of those folks that's abused children in any way, shape, or form, man, get yourself some help. Figure it out. Because people like me are going to keep talking about it. And I'm not going to shut up until I can pretty much sleep at night knowing most kids are safe. And that's going to be a long time coming. It can be done, but we have to do it together. So we have to start talking about it. So if you know somebody that's been molested, if you've been molested, talk about it to somebody. Or if you don't want to talk to another human, write it down. Get it out of your system. And if you hear somebody else laughing and making jokes about it, step in and go, you know what, that's not really funny. Because we've downplayed this issue to the point where we just don't talk about it unless it pops up on the news. But people are getting more angry about it, as we all should. All right, guys, I'm out. I love you. Peace, love. You want to talk about anything to do with any of the subjects we talk about, be it paranormal, be it about child sexual abuse and the connection to our spirit and the spirit that lives in this human body for now, having the human experience and what that means for afterwards, we can talk about it. Leave it in the comments. I love y'all.